All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you here today in a brand new broadcast. I'm excited that you are watching today. I am also excited for you all who are listening because you'll be getting this on my media and marketing podcast, which is out on Apple iTunes and Stitcher. Actually, it's coming out and Google Play and other places. I'll be pushing that out there. But for you all, I want to thank you for taking time today. Very excited actually today because we're going into part 2 of the Facebook ads audit. If you remember in part 1, I talked about the agency version of this, sort of the first step before you really dive into the nitty gritty of the details of a Facebook ads account. It was more about the business processes and top level administration and onboarding actually also in the agency realm, and really trying to understand what are the goals and some of the top level metrics. And so you might want to go back and watch that, take a listen on the podcast for the Facebook audit, the agency version. So today we're actually going into part 2, which is, as you see, a little more detail. And as you'll learn today, what are the things that you should be looking for to really optimize your account for maximum returns. We're talking profits, right? So a lot of talk about click-through rates and cost per click and CPMs. CPMs are rising, oh my gosh, right? ROAS, right? Return on ad spend. Are these metrics really that matter? Well, all of this matters, right? But if you just want to look at it black and white, profits is what matters. So what we're trying to do today is actually take you through the steps that you should be considering in trying to analyze your own account. And of course, if you are a consultant or an agency player and you're trying to help others, this will help you as well. Really want to break this down for you today. So without further ado, let's dig into the document. And by the way, I'll provide, as usual, these as downloads for you so you can watch this, listen to this, access the document out there in PDF format and use it for yourself. I like these formats because, frankly, it allows you to sort of visually look at it, breaks it down very easily for the human brain. But then you can take this information and, sort of analyze it within those buckets and these levels that we're going to cover today. And before we start, I just wanted to let you know that one of the most important things, by the way, is to know and recognize that your funnel, your sales process is a must-do, must-have, must-understand area of your business. There's a lot of focus, as I said, on the top-level metrics. And it doesn't matter if your funnel sucks, just to be honest with you. If this is brand new for you, you're going to spend some time and money to get this dialed in. It's not overnight, and even experienced ad managers and media buyers will tell you this. We deal with it all the time. If you don't have an open mind to recognizing that you're investing into your business rather than, I want to do a quick run of this. I want to kind of consider this probably more noise in my head and expense rather than investment and a commitment to the long term, you will probably fail. This is, no matter what they say out there and what you hear, not an overnight thing by any means. And most of the time, you're going to be failing. You don't just load up ads and copy and landers and let it rip and it works out the gate. That is an aberration if it does. But don't want to be negative here. This is actually very, very positive in that you are pursuing this and watching this because, frankly, the end result is going to be a good one. But when I speak about the funnel, understand that you have to recognize the ownership of the funnel, the ownership of your products. You have to love this experience. If not, it's going to be a challenge. And as you can see in the document here, I outline goals and steps at the top. And this is just for you to sort of think about this in what I just discussed, that the funnel and the sales process is essential. We have a client we're working with right now in the local markets. They're a high ticket. They have a tremendous lead flow. We almost tripled from last month their lead flow, actually for less money. It's a very positive experience on the front end. But they're actually dialing in the sales process because they are not closing enough. This is also something we're helping with. By the way, If you want help with any of this stuff, you're free to set up a quick call with me or one of my experts at the agency at chaosmap.com/talk. That's where we can actually, you can select the date and time that works for you, and we can jump on and we'll help you out with this. And it doesn't matter if you're spending, $10 a day or $10,000 a day. These concepts still apply. Now, if you're just starting out, we'll still help you out, but it may be a quicker call, right? It doesn't matter. You just need to get started. So thinking about the goals and steps, I talked about the funnel, the sales process. You're going to be spending time and money on ad concepts. We call this ad concept testing. We're going to be trying to optimize and tune those to a level where they actually start working, right? And that includes all of these. We're going to obviously, as we start to see things working, turn off low performers. We're going to be starting to, through that optimization, see results that are really much more positive and provides an ROI, hopefully, certainly a positive ROAS. But we're going to then move into maintenance. And of course, as we really start to dial things in, we'll get into vertical, horizontal, and spherical scaling, which is, of course, a concept or a training all by itself. And over here on the right, if you can see it, this is from good old, mean old Dan Kennedy. Message, market, media. How important is this? The trivial, simple triangle with such profound results and opportunities both here. The message, we talk about what is it, right? What is it that you're trying to convey out there? What problem? What big idea? What, hopes, dreams, desires, problems, issues, all of these things that as a marketer, you should be considering to put out there as a strong message, a compelling message, and something that moves them from point A to, next level, right? A, B, C, crossing the bridge. Market, who are you targeting? Very, very key. You hear this all the time. Anyone who gets asked about how do I get more customers, one of the first questions is going to be, oh, what's your message and who are you talking to? The market, who? And then media, how, right? We're talking about Facebook here today, but this triangle, keep these things in mind and the discussion about sales process before even attempting to go in and doing this stuff here. We are talking about an audit. I'm talking about existing accounts, but if you're going in brand new, it'll be helpful for you to understand sort of the top level areas. So we're going to go through, levels 1 through 3 here. And with the end result at the bottom here, a document with findings, recommendations, and next steps. And as I said, if you need help with any of this or any guidance, we also have a document outline that we don't really publish publicly, but we'll get you a copy of that if you reach out at chaosmap.com/talk. So let me just get back on here really quick. And so if you are ready, this is Jan Rognerud, and we are going to be digging in. So level 1, guys and gals. Well, we're talking about the business manager. If you don't have this set up, you need to get this set up. You need basically to integrate this. Everybody has a personal profile, right? A personal ad account or a personal profile. You need to log in and you need to go to the business manager. You can Google it or you can just type it into Facebook search. Business manager, get that set up and get a backup ad account set up as well. Maximum numbers here are good. You have the ability to set up 2. Get those both set up. Now, you don't have to add a payment information, your payment detail to the backup accounts. Just put it there so you have it in place. The Facebook pixel, of course, very, very important. And I'm not going to talk about why here so much about, why you need to do these things. Just know that you have to do them, that it's part of best practices, and that if you're missing any of these steps, you are leaving money and opportunities on the table. So you want to create a pixel. You want to set that up in the business manager. You want to share that out with your active account. And this could be something that you install yourself on your website or send it to your developer. And of course, we like Google Tag Manager. There's another broadcast where I talk about that. Very, very, very powerful, simple to use. And once you use it once, you'll be forever grateful for getting that tip right there. Google Tag Manager, get the pixel set up. And also make sure to install the Google Chrome extension for the Facebook pixel. It's called the Facebook Pixel Helper. because basically you'll see and be able to track and debug any issues happening with the pixel, and you're really looking for green check marks there. As we move across here to custom conversions in level 1, you want to determine what the conversion points are. Remember I talked about the funnel in the part 1? You want to determine where are the conversion points, and you set up custom conversions for each one of these. And of course, the appropriate event category, if it's a lead, if it's a purchase, add to cart, etc. All these standard events, as they're called, really need to be set up as a conversion there. And there's different ways to do this, by the way. You can set it up as a URL based, or you can set it up with scripting. URL based is easier, not always as detailed, but this is up to you, right? You want to basically just make sure that you get this set it up. So make sure to do that. Now, for audiences, this is a big bucket right here. One of the things that we get very excited about in determining audiences is, or setting these up is, yes, we want our research to happen. We want our lookalikes, etc. But we did a recent campaign where we actually uploaded about 35,000 emails. You don't have to actually have that many. At least 1,000 is the minimum. But if you can segment this, and if you have a larger list, or if you have buyers versus subscribers, segment those. Fantastic audiences to do what's called a CRM matching out to Facebook. Upload these and allow this audience to basically be targeted with your ads, right? Tremendous placement here in terms of getting that data uploaded. And for each one of these audiences, you can also set up, different types. I mentioned lookalikes, I mentioned CRM, website engagement, video engagement. All of these things can be set up. Now, you're not going to know if this is a brand new account. You're not going to know what to use, but typically what we like to do is get a content strategy in place, use the messaging, using the strategies that we developed from the top level to actually decide what would resonate better. We know that video really works well just in general, and the ability then to set up custom audiences from that, 3 seconds, 25% watched, etc., 50%, very, very powerful. But don't forget website traffic. You can set up that pixel to basically track your 30-day, 60, 90, 180-day spans of traffic patterns from your audience out there. And all of those are essentially retargetable through these custom or through these audiences. So that's very briefly what you need to do there. It gives you a good sense of the steps on level 1. Now, level 2 over here, that's when you dive into, the campaign level. And again, as I said, I'm sort of mixing brand new campaigns and existing. Really, this audit is for existing. As I said before, if you're brand new, it'll help to understand kind of what we think about in terms of a audit. But you're obviously going to come at this a little bit differently. So from the campaign level, however, you need to go in and look at, what is the objective that you're trying to attain? Are you driving just pure traffic? Are you using reach? Are you trying to run, conversion campaigns, like you want leads and conversions? Well, you want to look at conversion campaigns, probably 90% out the gate. This is what we use, but you can combine it with others, right? You can use, we talked about the post ID and the cross campaign references for leveraging social proof, etc. More advanced topic. You can look at a previous show here for that, but essentially look at understanding what your objectives are and what that particular campaign objective should be. And of course, what we like to do is when we set this up, think about the naming convention. So if it's a conversion campaign, use the word conversion out there. Maybe you want to put a date, the purpose, as I mentioned. And those are going to be very, very important things for you to keep track of as you scale up, because as you scale up, you're going to lose track of, these campaigns unless you have a really detailed reporting, which there's going to be another presentation on how we do that. But, a date is very, very cool, simple to use. The name, the purpose, and the objective, that could be all you need to do to start, right? Cool. So as we go across here now into the ad set, and to looking at really the ad set level over here. So essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to break down the details within your campaign to be shown from a Facebook perspective. So here you look at budget type, you look at end dates, schedules, if you're using or not using it. I don't recommend using scheduled end dates, daily schedules, etc. We don't use that either. But you need to go through and basically track these things. What should you be using and when? Daily versus lifetime, right? So the audiences, as we start to look at that within the ad set, if it's a local business, what kind of radius are you looking at? Should you be using everyone in this location or people who live in this location? Well, you might want to say everyone, right? Or maybe not. This is all about testing. You could set up different campaigns and different creatives for this. You can really ultimately in Facebook do a lot. We don't try to out the gate do too much. If you have an existing campaign, we're going to look at the KPIs and determine, are these viable settings for you? Age restrictions, right? I mean, demographics, your age targeting is going to be very important. And also if you are, for instance, in a local business, targeting down to many interests at this ad set level may not be your best friend. You may simply say, radius and an age demographic, right? That's it. And in fact, keeping it open or broad like this can be very helpful, especially if you have your business already running for a while and that pixel has been running out there. So that's a good thing. And I'm not going to go through all of the details here. I'm sort of working through my checklist here. But you want to make sure that you are hitting your demographics targeting that you set out the gate, right? And let's see. So let's go through and let's get into placements and optimization. So as we come across here, we want to take a look at what you're using, right? Are you going simply and saying checkboxing everything for placement, or are you using the Facebook feed and Instagram feed, for instance, or instant articles or audience network? You can break these out. If you haven't broken these out, you can, of course, report on them that way. But we recommend with out the gate, and certainly if we were to test something new, look at the data and or select the feeds, Facebook feeds and instant articles. Maybe right-hand column is something that you do later. We typically try and limit this out the gate. But again, all of this can be very easily tested. And of course, as you start to look at this, make sure that you have the right optimization goals, that you have the right conversion window, the 7-day versus 1 day, etc. Out the gate, we typically recommend just leaving the settings as is. And of course, the bidding strategy. We typically set that also up as automatic. Don't need to get into a lot of manual bidding and sort of overriding of settings. I know there's some of the experts out there who are doing some very aggressive bidding on this. But out the gate and typically throughout the journey of the campaigns, you can leave this at automatic. So that's basically a top level view of level 1 and level 2 with some of the details within each. As we get into level 3 here, now it's getting really down to the creative piece, right? So the campaign is the objective at the highest level. The ad set, of course, is the demographics, the targeting, the interests, the budgets, the money, all of those in a ad set. And the third piece is, below this is the ad level, level 3 over here. This is where really all the magic happens in terms of that messaging that I talked about from the top. How do we actually, now that we have found our targets and we've set up our budgets and we know our interests, all of that, how do we actually speak to them? Well, in Facebook, you have the power of images. You have the power of, static copy and also videos, right? Now, there's also Canvas ads and there's different types, slideshows. There's many different ways in which you can present that information. But at the core, you really have streaming media or you have a static image with copy, right? So you want to look at how do you map out your ads? How are those ads mapped out currently? Are you using multiple ads or single ads within an ad set? We, of course, always advocate trying to test more within an ad set in general. There's metrics that you can look at here as frequency and relevancy and others. Ultimately, those should be looked at, but those may or may not be important for you if you're actually within KPI. Those metrics that you set out the gate from that part one of the Facebook ads audit. Well, if you're within KPI and you have a high frequency, that may be okay, right? People tend to freak out here. It's like, oh my God, I have a frequency of 6, which means people are seeing my ad way too much, in quotes, but you are converting like crazy. Well, definitely there's an opportunity there to test, and we never want to scale back on the testing. In fact, we advocate testing. And you may want to start out with 2 to 4 ads within an ad set. Typically, we start out with 3 to 4, but you start by testing the image and the headline. That's it. Don't need to go hog wild on anything else. Start simple. If you are running this existing right now, the first thing to look at is the KPIs. And if you're not converting, then you have to look at the entire funnel. And if you remember from the top, I talk about the funnel, I talk about the sales process, and that it's not always your ad. In fact, it's probably a 60-40 or at least a 50-50. If your ads look fine, then your sales process in a funnel is what's breaking down. But clearly many variables here, and we're not going to talk about all the solutions or strategies here, but at least you get an idea, right? And one of the things I was going to point out when we talk about the ads is, we look at the metrics, but sometimes we forget that negative feedback can impact this, meaning that you are not getting the full traction. You're getting sort of penalized in a sense of getting higher costs at the front level. And you need to test new copy to raise that score, because people can actually, leave negative comments, but worse, they can hide your ad. They don't want to see your stuff, right? So all of those things should be considered. And one of the things that we like to do is we like to pull, 2 to 4 of the ads right out the gate, just to get a sense for what you are doing. One of the things that we like to talk about a lot in the messaging is, your problem, solution, benefit, demonstration, basically your solution with a strong CTA, the good old PAS from the copywriting days, still used and has been used for, decades. If you have a problem, you can agitate it, you can solve it right there through copy and or demonstrate it. Fantastic. This is an entire weekend plus or significant training that needs to go into right copy and to actually understand how do you move somebody with emotional triggers. We talked about in part 1 the math, we talked about the psychology. If you understand the math and you have your KPIs dialed in, the psychology of your user, your audience, your problems that you're trying to solve, this whole headline writing with powerful images that support that is going to be very, very critical for rock solid results here. Plus, you want that CTA to be very clear, very simple. And if you look at testing buttons, you can do that. Buy now button, learn more button, no button at all. All of these things can be tested. We like to learn more in most of the cases for lead generation. But clearly, the buy now button is going to be strategic for e-commerce. And of course, as you go through the customer journey from top to bottom, you may have an opportunity to use a shop now or a buy now button when you're further down the funnel through retargeting mechanisms, right? And again, I'm going through a lot of strategies here at both a top level and some detail, but this is a checklist that we use to go through to make sure that we understand, your campaign level, your targeting, and your messaging and your congruency from the copy, the images, the landing pages, and that it has a nice flow to it that is also compatible with devices, right, for landing pages, but also uses a best practice with compliance, right? There's words that you cannot use now, for instance, right, on Facebook. has always sort of been the case, but it's much more prevalent now, and you'll get actually ads rejected, and that's another process in which we can do through another broadcast. So anyway, yes, understanding that this is a very detailed process is going to be critical. But essentially, if you think about level 1, 2, and 3, and some of these things that I've shared here today, and then coming back out with the documents, or a document that shares the details of what should be improved, then that's exactly what the audit should yield, right? So we have basically an outline for this that we use. It's about 15 pages. It gets sort of involved, screenshots and details and reports, but essentially you don't have to go that fancy. You could have a particular ad set or even a campaign, but typically an ad set that is working well, another one that is sucky, that's draining your money. How do you improve that? Well, if you think about the topic of today and the Facebook audit itself and some of the details, you can actually go in and start making adjustments based on what I have shown here today. And also, I should say, we talked about policies of ads. I've included that here at the bottom, the Facebook policies and ads URL. I've also included some of the graphics tools that are available. Canva.com, of course, is one of the top players. We use that a lot ourselves. And thinking about headline, this title generator, title-generator.com, is a great way to go to think about how do I structure some of my headlines to make them as compelling as possible without, clickbaity stuff, right? Nobody likes that, and we certainly don't want to do that either. So if you need help with any of this, feel free to go to chaosmap.com/talk. Happy to take you through this. But often we've found that, and again, I'm not talking about the aberration of accounts that are not even close to KPIs, that has been out of KPIs for months. Yes, that can be totally optimized, as we've seen here. But often there are small things that can be changed to make a big impact, small hinges, big doors, right? That concept. And so you shouldn't be afraid to go in and make these changes. But one of the biggest things that you should be doing here is that we basically need to understand that testing is the essence of marketing here, especially online. When it comes to ads, this is critical. Do not be afraid of testing. This is par for the course. So I just want to close this out by saying thanks, and also for taking a moment here to join me today to go through this quick document. There'll be a link in the show notes to download this document, and you can listen through these thoughts and these insights, of course, after this. But I really want to thank you and for joining me today to get a top level sense with some of this detail. As I've said, I've gone through this very, very quickly. There's a lot of detail, but I think that if you understand how we think about this and how we help clients do this, you can do it too. So anyway, I want to thank you, and have a great day, evening, or night. Yana. See you.